Holes and holes, welcome one and all to another on vacation scuffed Nuxanor video. That's right, hotel Wi-Fi going, very excited to produce the highest of tier slop content on this glorious day. The goals today are incredibly simple. Goal 1, we wake no neighbors. Goal 2, we enrage multiple journalists. And goal 3, we potentially launch the greatest talk show in the history of time that I thought up of while out here in the boondocks enjoying my vacationizing, because this has been a healing experience for me and it has been detrimental to the world at large now that I am unleashed, more based than ever. Today we're talking about why gaming journalists especially, but journalists in general, are the cockroaches of the modern day society. While I'm doing real life things, recognizing the fact that nothing that actually goes on the internet and social media really seems to matter at all, I have come to notice there is one universal evil that unites everyone. Everyone hates journalists, especially the ones that lie and manipulate the facts in order to set their own agendas straight and push some sort of propaganda, pushing you towards one path or another, and ultimately, that's all journalists. So when I said that people that hate journalists that do that thing, I'm really referring to all of them. I just said it in the most inclusive way possible with as many specifics as I can. Now, it's tough when you're having a full life of enjoying the world and not letting the internet into your daily existence seep into your pores. There is one thing that I had to do in order to keep up with the news, because I am not just a casual hater, I am a professional one. I take pride in the chaos that I sow, god damn it. So allow me to keep you up to date in the loop with some of the interesting stuff. There's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on that I'm excited to come back and make content for, but I have to especially say a thank you to the greatest news channel of all time to keep me in the loop with a lot of the things that I hate. I'd say about 50% of the things that I hate are combobulated into one area. The Asmongold Clips channel, the ideal place to actually understand everything that is going on in the world. You don't have time to pay attention to specific things or want to see nuances? Watch the bald man with the teeth rotting out of his head talking about it instead, and that will definitely help your day do better. So I did a little compilation of a lot of the little newses that I've been missing, but especially wanting to talk about a lot of the various different game journalist losers that are literally lying, scheming, and sniveling behind the scenes and still utterly failing at everything that they are trying to do. Okay, from Ubisoft to being an absolute total joke, telling the New York Times to write articles against the gamers that are upset at the new Assassin's Creed, or IGN, who is literally rigging an entire voting competition against Black Myth Wukong right now, making believe that it's less popular because they had journalists talk about how they hated it because they didn't like the culture of the company that made it, or something like that. It doesn't even matter. They are stubborn. They have branded them as an enemy of the state, and then they will therefore take action against them. We are going to not give the journalist people that I normally have a fun time with, we're not giving them a day off today. I may be on vacation, but they are not. And unfortunately, we are going to be going nuts to butts and having a wonderful time here, exposing the garbage out there that unfortunately it's been a little Nuxanor free on the journalist grounds. And now is the time where I say the potentially really cool talk show idea I have. I just need to find a co-host. Maybe we're not going to do this super regularly. I need to find a co-host that hates the journalists as much as I do, and just do like an episode every once in a while where we just go crazy on these guys. So let me know if you have anyone in mind that I should do this with. I have a few ideas, but I'm very excited to take my hatred of journalists to a professional, financial, lucrative degree. So let's get this party started. So it just gets better. We're gonna go through the little clipperoonies, and we're gonna talk about the heinous stuff that's happened.
I had to do a double take when I saw this. Concord is one of the best video games I've ever played.
Thank you, game journalists. You have once again saved the world. Once again, it's happened. So you know Concord, the game that they spent $400 million on, that was such a massive flop, an unprecedented flop in the gaming world. It was a flop so big, your grandchildren will be talking about this flop, okay? It's gloriously massive. But the game journalists come out here and say that it's one of the best games they've ever played, which is huge. Just wait until you hear more.
Saw this. Concord is one of the best video games I've ever played.
Just let it die.
Guys, It's over. Why are you doing this? A reader's feature argues that Concord was a misunderstood masterpiece, and its only flaw was Sony's marketing for it.
Oh, that was the only flaw, guys. Let me tell you something a little bit too real about the world, okay? You might want to sit down because you're going to remember these words many years from now when you recognize that it is in fact true. If the product is bad, it will fail. If the product is good, it will succeed. All the advertising campaigns and marketing strategies and flim-flams and bamboozles behind the scenes, all that's great to put it in front of people, but if it is a failure, then it is a failure. If it's bad content, people won't play it. Concord had the biggest marketing campaign of all time, okay? I know that everyone's saying that the reason why Concord failed, and by everyone I mean the journalists, so obviously that's no one in real world standards, but these guys say that the reason why Concord failed is because the marketing was bad, but it was really a masterpiece. Let me tell you why you're so wrong. This had the biggest marketing campaign of all time. Do you have any idea how many hate videos were made about it? I know a lot of people say bad publicity shouldn't count necessarily as marketing. It's not true. It's a lie. If all these people came together to talk about how it's garbage, but it was actually great, people would play it and call them out on this. But that didn't happen because it's garbage.
Okay, I'm gonna read this. I'm one of the few people that bought and played the ill-fated Concord. Having heard a little about the game before its release, I stumbled upon it by accident. I'm writing this because I feel the game has been misunderstood and dismissed. The reasons for this are multifarious. Primarily, it was a colossal...
Multifarious. That is not a word any normal human would ever use, but continue.
Failure of marketing on Sony's part. At first glance, Concord just looked like another hero shooter in the style of Overwatch.
Except all the characters look awful.
However, those of us who actually played the game, all 25,000 of us, discovered it was so much more than that.
Oh, sure, all 25,000. That's why the peak player count absolutely dropped off. It was low to begin with, but then it dropped off even further because all the people were just rushing to come back.
We realized that we had a real gem on our hands. This may sound ridiculous to you, but I genuinely believe that Concord is one of the best games I've ever played. And I say that as someone who has been gaming regularly for over 30 years.
Yeah, bro went from all the way from Angry Birds all the way to Candy Crush. Been killing it since the Sudoku days. Ever since the crossword puzzle in the newspaper days, bro's been gaming.
Wow, so it looks like he has early onset dementia. Gameplay-wise, I found Concord extremely
like
at its core.
Like, the funny thing is, like, these are people that are paid to write these articles. Like, how do you even take this seriously?
Concord is a 5v5 first-person shooter, but we set out to make it play like nothing else out there.
And then it just became the most generic thing in the universe.
Keep going with all of those experiences and all of those stories in season 1 and beyond.
Beyond funny.
To provide all of this exciting seasonal content, new maps, new modes, new characters.
Well, look at that game. That's such a whole new world of play styles.
Experience, quality of life.
You know what this reminds me of? You know, it's like a movie about like a disaster. You know, this is like what people from the Titanic were saying they were gonna do when they got home.
We're excited to be on this journey with players to keep growing the universe of Concord.
God, this is me talking about the content I'm gonna make when I'm back from vacation right before the... Anyway, I'm not gonna pre-watch natural disasters or anything.
Expand our gameplay experiences.
The possibility space of what Concord will become is super exciting.
Super exciting.
And we can't wait to start the adventure together.
Yeah, it's really nice to look back at this and know it all failed, huh?
If I was Sony, I would delete this trailer. It never happened. What's Concord? I have no idea. In short, I was blown away about how good the game felt to play.
Yeah, the game journalists, they come in here, raw no rubber, we're going crazy.
It feels like Sony set this game up to fail.
Yeah, it's all Sony's fault. It's all Sony's fault in the marketing department. It's not the fact that the characters are forgettable blobs. It's not the fact that it's the most generic game that they could have possibly come up with, except with an art style and character design worse than every single one of its competitors that are already doing everything that they're doing with dedicated fan bases. Yeah, it's the marketing campaign probably.
With poorly judged trailers that did little to convey what was interesting or unique about the game. And
I love how this guy's doing a whole article talking about how the game is super unique and that there's lots to convey here, but the trailers did it wrong. But this dude writing the article isn't actually talking about what's good about the game either, right? This dude's just talking about how the advertising campaign didn't talk about what's actually good about it. But this guy's not saying it either because there's nothing good about it. And dude is literally spinning his wheels, trying to destroy the evil fascists like Asmongold.
price tag that acted as a barrier to everyone to give it a chance. Much like its namesake, Concord was incredibly well-designed premium product.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. I thought that the Concord jet got discontinued because it wasn't worth running.
Oh, it's the Concord jet. I mean, obviously this is named after the grape, but yeah. It's just, don't name your thing Concord. If you're ever starting a company, don't name it Concord.
I feel like nobody should name anything Concord anymore.
Oh, never mind. Well, the bald man said it first. But yeah, ultimately, the game journal is 0. Nuxanor's neighbors 1. All right, we keep going. All right, don't worry. It keeps getting better because Space Marine 2, massive success. As you know, I, big Warhammer stan over here. I've dived into the lore. I'm working on a whole big video for the main channel on this bad boy. Warhammer's truly a masterpiece, and I'm really glad that the game was as received as well as it was. But not according to the game journalists.
Warhammer 2 CEO drama for his comment on your video. I saw that. IGN posts an article. This is like 17 hours ago. Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2 developer Saber Interactive won't say whether or not controversial YouTube comment is from its CEO.
I love how they phrase things. They won't say if it was or wasn't them. And by that, it means they're just not, like, they didn't mention it because it was a YouTube comment on a video and it's really not that important.
And so if you go on the article,
but the article frames it as like this big clickbait. Oh, guys, blah, blah, blah. This is why I call my videos Mr. Breast will go to jail, and I have absolutely zero remorse for the clickbait, okay? God damn it, I have to combat these bastards.
they changed the title of this from controversial to explaining what it actually was.
Context. A few days ago, what was supposedly the CEO of Saber Interactive left a comment on one of our videos.
I hope games like Space Marine 2 and Wukong are the start of a revision to the timeline where games are simply about fun and immersion.
A bro drops a comment on a YouTube video saying, man, I remember when games were about having fun playing them. You know, probably the least controversial take you could have in the history of gaming, okay? Now, as someone that has a controversial take or two, I recognize that this should not be controversial in the slightest, right? Like, let's be real here. Someone saying that video games are meant to be played if you want to have fun is the most basic take in the universe. But all the journalists are coming out to call this out as a very controversial comment. But to anyone that has eyes and a frontal cortex, I know, crazy combo, they would recognize that this is in fact not a controversial comment and something that every single person should agree on.
This comment went immediately viral, and as you might imagine, a lot of people were very positive about it. But then, la creme de la creme, a senior Kotaku reporter called this out and equaled Saber's CEO to some anti-woke crusader. They were so sure the comment...
Yep, that's right. If you say that, man, I like video games that are fun to play, that probably means you hate minorities. Listen, I didn't say it. Kotaku did.
...was fake, that they asked Saber about it. Saber then refused to respond, and the smear campaign immediately begun.
Let's go.
Then today, the CEO replied to a post about it on LinkedIn.
And the reason why is because it wasn't controversial to anybody. This is a media hack that they do. So they say that it's a controversial comment, then hopefully by a self-fulfilling prophecy, it then becomes controversial, right?
Yeah, I don't even think that's true necessarily. I mean, I get what you're going with this, but I don't think that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think that saying it's controversial definitely, one, fits well into the agenda that most of these gaming journalists seem to have, that video games should be about pushing some sort of propaganda situation, and B, should be about having fun. So this comment goes against that narrative that, for whatever reason, is in the popular zeitgeist of gaming journalists right now. And two, and I think this is very important to say, if you write your article and title it, Space Marine 2 Dev wrote a comment on a YouTube video, no one is gonna click on that. That is a boring title. So ultimately, the news is dictated by clickbait titles because no one actually clicks on links to read the articles. They just read the titles and move on. The only way you can get someone to potentially click the link is if you make the title actually captivating. Now, how do you make that title captivating? By calling it controversial. That's why when you make an exposed video on some YouTuber, you're not gonna make a video saying, exposing Mr. Breast as a relatively not nice man sometimes, maybe, allegedly, right? That is not a title that gets clicks, but a title, the Mr. Beast situation is insane, well, people are gonna wanna click on that to see what the Mr. Beast situation that's insane is. So over here, they title it a controversial comment so people could click on it and read the article, but it ends up in the news cycle as a controversial comment, even though it's not that, just for the clickbait purposes of it. It's the tweet that goes viral, not the article, and no one actually gets this far in the reading process. It is a absolutely trash system to propagate news, and they're still doing it. I don't know why. I don't know why who's still funding these people. I don't know how they're actually able to afford this stuff. I don't know if it's the games that pay them to write positive articles about the right games or whatever, but it's a nightmare. Which is why I really want to start a talk show, the Unhinged podcast, me and some co-host that also shares my vitriol and hatred for these gaming. I don't know, this might be a terrible idea and my downfall. So worth it.
But the truth is that this comment had 14,000 likes. Everybody was positive about it. Everybody was supportive. There was no controversy.
Yeah, not controversy.
I reached out to them, but they did not receive a response.
Based, more video game companies should stop responding to these people. Don't give them any credibility. The only credibility they have is when you actually engage with them.
Something happens, and then this comment becomes presented, and then this narrative is created.
True.
That narrative then makes the company feel like they have to set the record straight, and
which once again starts the cycle.
Explain themselves to these companies.
Which is why you have to be one of two things. Either based, which is the Nuxanor method of calling them out, or you could be safe and just not talk about that. Ignore all of it, and it'll all go away, because none of it holds any water.
Active is making the right decision.
Do you think the people that are playing Space Marine 2 care if there was a controversial comment written by the CEO on a bald man's YouTube video? And especially if the comment is not controversial? Yeah, I don't think so.
In the same way that game science made the right decision. It's not to confirm yes or to confirm no.
Just ignore them. Ignore them. You are above them. Don't give them power. All the power that they have is power that is given to them by people that interact with them.
It's to have no comment. You don't talk about it with them. You don't give it oxygen.
Yes.
Because every time that you do that and you explain things to them, what you do is you empower this machine. I bought the game because of controversial comment. Make games fun again. Please explain how it's controversial. A gaming publication finds a comment about making games having fun again is controversial.
Yep.
And you can see, obviously, everybody is disagreeing with this. Game science...
No duh.
Didn't play their game, and Wukong has sold over 15 million copies. These people are simply no longer the gatekeeper to audiences anymore.
Which is glorious that we're reaching the end of this era. It's a really nice time, but I thought that was wild. But it keeps getting crazier. These past 2 weeks, this is what happens. Every time I go away for the modicum tiny amount of time, I just have no choice but to wait for my neighbors in the hotel, god damn it. I have no choice. I'm doing it for justice.
There's been more and more people that have been writing articles about the comment that was made on one of my YouTube videos.
Yeah, we still cooking with this.
There was a YouTube comment, and the person said that they were the CEO of the company that made Space Marine 2. And they were
just covered all this. Yep. All right. All good. But
morals on gamers.
Saber Interactive CEO Matthew Karcher, someone claiming to be him, has stirred up controversy with a comment. Yeah, controversy. There's no controversy. You're making up the controversy in order to either push your thing or get clicks or both. On a recent video in which he decried the current state of video games, saying too much of them be built around messaging or imposing morals like gamers. Once again, not an awful take. But the point that I'm trying to make in here, why are there so many articles about this? Is it because one of them regurgitated slop and everyone else decided that they wanted to regurgitate the same slop in order to continue slopping around? They wanted to throw some slop at each other? Cause this fun slop human centipede where one person slops into the next person's slop hole?
Which, by the way, here, I'll give you a really good example. You can have, this is the new Dragon Age game.
Yeah, I heard nightmares about this.
You can have top surgery scars turned on. I cannot...
Yeah, that's definitely something important to include in your video games today. Video games that are all about fun and enjoyment, and yep, that is something that in a fantasy game where you could transform yourself into look like a raccoon, that is definitely an important addition to have. I guess. This is why I am the problem, I suppose. Raves your banners, gamers. Subscribe for the chaos. We keep going hard. We keep going hard.
Imagine anything more intellectually devoid and creatively bankrupt than this.
Dude, it's pandering. Get with the memo, bro. Get with the memo. Video games aren't made to be fun. They're made to pander.
This is a fantasy world, and the only way to remove a person's breasts are the exact same way that we have in real life. This is crazy. Absolutely fucking insane. Why the fuck would you need top surgery scars in a game that has fucking magic? This is a world where people are able to change into other animals, but...
Listen, you have two options in this world, okay? All right, when all this stuff goes down, You have two options. Option 1, you cry. The state of the universe and the world is so sad. Or option 2, you laugh. Crying won't help anyway. Might as well revel in the chaos. It's like, this is the priorities of people making video games today. Like, guys, homies.
Somehow
This is not helping anyone's immersion, I think.
you can't change into the other gender. This is the most surface level, basic, completely devoid of any creativity way to virtue signal that you care about trans people. And I think that if anything else, the people that should be very annoyed about this are people that would rather have like decent representation. I can't speak for any trans people, but like I can speak for a lot of people that I know that have scars. I don't think that hardly anybody wants to have their scars.
Listen, I can't speak for people that most of their teeth rotted out of their head like Asmongold and are balding terribly, and I won't speak for him, but I do think if Asmongold would be playing a video game and they would give him an option to not have any of his back teeth, I think he might even take that as an insult, to be honest. While yes, it's definitely somewhat inclusive in that way that people that don't have 90% of their teeth can also feel included in playing the game, I don't know if necessarily he would be like, finally, they get me. Okay, maybe that's an oversimplification here, but I decided that I'm going down this path, and I'm not changing my mind.
If you could just not have that, I'm pretty sure almost everybody that's had surgery would just turn it off. And also the ass slider was painfully conservative, crazy conservative. That's the ass. Are you kidding me?
This is why gaming is failing. This is the downfall.
Are you fucking, this is a joke? That's a 100?
The funniest thing is Zenless Zone Zero keeps releasing borderline hentai trailers and are making hundreds of millions of dollars a month, and everyone's like, I wonder why. It's impossible. Who knows? How?
No, it's not. I can go on the
Just go on the hot on Twitch.
look. Where do we have? Where's the ASMR?
All right, there we go. There we go. You want to see an ass? All right, but it keeps getting worse.
Ubisoft is trying to get a Japanese editor to defend Assassin's Creed Shadows in Japan.
All right, so for those of you that want the super duper TLDR, go find it somewhere else. I am on vacation. I am not giving you TLDRs, okay? I am here to laugh at the misery, okay? We're laughing at the misery, baby.
The Japanese people quickly caught on and exposed this person as a former Sweet Baby member.
Context.
Oh, thank God we have Asmongold's editor, goddammit.
A few days ago, the New York Times
The New York Times! The New York Times! This is a real journalist. This isn't even a gaming journalist, supposedly, and look what they make. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
published a hit piece pushing against people that were criticizing the upcoming Assassin's Creed Shadows.
True.
This article was done in collaboration with a so-called Japanese consultant and translator who claimed the criticism was only from the West. And even though the Japanese trailers were also massively disliked, it was mostly
Yikes.
Westerners doing that. And
Yes. You see, the thing is, it's only the West that hates them, because in the West, people are anti-woke. In Japan, no. Japanese people, those guys love the game. All right, they don't at all feel like their culture is being disrespected by Ubisoft.
also how most of the negative comments were not actually from Japanese players.
Now, the crazy thing is, since this was in the New York Times, a reputable newspaper that has been known to fact check, there's no way this could just be blatantly wrong, right? Not even pushing some sort of thought ideology that I disagree with, or, going forward with some, analysis of a situation that I personally have a different perspective on. This is just factually inaccurate. Straight up lies. Like, how do you even do this?
Meanwhile, one of the biggest Japanese game commentary channels literally made a song mocking the game.
They put Sweet Baby in their lyrics. That's awesome. For the Sweet Baby Inc. is the DEI consulting company, diversity inclusion company that's supposed to make your games more inclusive to. I don't know what they're supposed to do. I don't know why this is a company that exists, to be honest, but I'm just giving you the context.
This absolute banger got 3 million views in 2 months.
Yeah, that to me looks like a Japanese audience that does not care about what Ubisoft is doing to the Japanese traditions. That's what what's the right word? That's what not caring looks like. For those of you that are unaware, this 2.9 million views on literally a hate video on Ubisoft for butchering the Japanese Assassin's Creed, made from a Japanese YouTuber in Japan with 3 million views, that's what apathy looks like. Only people that truly don't care to the highest of degrees would go that far.
And what about the so-called Japanese consultant for the New York Times? Well, as it turns out, Kazuma was a narrative
Shocker.
consultant for Sweet Baby Inc. for about
Shocker.
3 years, working among other things for Ubisoft.
Former Sweet Baby Inc., former Ubisoft and Square Enix consultant writing for Polygon and IGN.
Oh, so a game journalist from Polygon and IGN, and a consultant for Ubisoft and Square Enix, and a Sweet Baby Inc. freelancer, was used by the New York Times and framed as a Japanese editor in order to fake a narrative to give credence to the fact that the reason why Assassin's Creed Shadows is getting hate is from fascist, extreme, bigoted nutcases in the West. That sentence should not be uttered from anyone's lips, all right? Framing the situation that way should never be a thing. This is so sad.
Oh my god.
And again, you either cry or laugh. These are the options, all right? All right. If you are subscribed to the Nux mantra of you could either cry or laugh, so you might as well laugh. This is a good day, all right? Because when I saw this, I really wanted to just put my foot down and start a goddamn podcast. The Unhinged podcast coming soon to theaters near you, ladies and gentlemen. We are gonna cook, okay? All right, I had enough of this. I ain't taking this lying down, okay? We making enemies, goddammit. My neighbors in the hotel, the journalists, no one is safe.
Why would you do this? It's so obvious if you're doing it. You know what? That's a lot sadder that we're giving it credit for. They can't make the game right. They can't make the lore right. They can't even figure out how to push out a false narrative the right way. Like, they can't do it. Like, what the hell is going on? You got a bunch of monkeys working over there. What the fuck's wrong with them?
Yeah, it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad when they can't even get the fake propaganda doing right. That's when you know the gaming journalists have truly failed. I wanted to end off with this one last thing of IGN literally rigging votes against a certain game because it doesn't fall into what they want for some or whatever. Like, this is the wildest thing in the universe. It's crazy that they keep cooking. They are such a joke. It's insane. But anyway, IGN, gaming journalists, very reputable source. They had a very exciting thing that they just did.
IGN appears to manipulate user votes for Game of the Year. Wukong drops from 90% to 74% in the span of 1 hour.
How did that happen? That's crazy. How did that happen? That's wild. How?
Context. A few weeks ago, IGN set up a system to decide the Game of the Year. In this, you have a huge catalogue of titles that face off in duels.
Look at that.
In theory, the game that eventually wins the most duels will be crowned Game of the Year.
Look at that. Honestly, not a perfect system, because obviously certain games are going to be up against certain other ones, so anything that Elden Ring is up against is probably going to get a lot less votes than the things that are up against Concord, okay? But anyway, that's the system that they set up, all right? Some sort of dueling face-off style voting system. Honestly, how could you rig this, right?
In a perfect world, every game shown here should have the same numerical amount of duels. I have thoroughly tested this, and the system will continue to show you a game even when you made it lose multiple times. Unfortunately, people have noticed some absolutely insane out of this world tampering for Black Myth Wukong. Ooh. Yesterday, Wukong went from winning the Game of the Year to quickly collapse. Notice how it got 44k more votes in...
Look at that. 430, 90%. 5, 85%. 510, 84%. 550, 74%. How did this drop-off happen? Was it rigged? Is it possible that because Black Myth Wukong was in a lot of drama and the gaming journalists didn't like it for whatever reason, they're gonna arbitrarily rig an entire voting process in order to push some sort of false narrative that the game is actually worse and less appreciated than audiences than it actually was? Would they have the audacity to do something like that? That's crazy.
In the span of 60 minutes, while the other game's duels count remained stable. And some people even recorded it as it was happening. And now the game has dropped to 3rd place. This is not IGN removing bots. This is an insane amount of losing duels added to Wukong, while all the other games have remained stable.
Kinda crazy. Somehow, they're losing a lot of duels, but where did all these people come from suddenly in the span of 1 hour?
To you, Baldy.
And even if you look at them, like, Wukong was somehow in, 320,000 duels, okay? And Elden Ring was only in 250,000 duels. Like, why was this one in 70,000 more duels? Were they 70,000 artificial losses given to Black Myth Wukong by, IGN? Would they be that brazen and dastardly to do something like this, to tamper with the sanctity of, a general audience poll? I say this in question mark formats, for I do not wish to be sued, but the answer that we are all thinking definitely is yes, okay? All right, let's be real here. This is definitely not out of the realm of possibility. That's why these companies need to burn, god damn it, metaphorically, okay? This is not an incitement of burning. This is an invitation to someone to join my new podcast, okay?
Wait, that's an insanely good point. A duel has 2 different outcomes. That means that the other game should go up proportionally at the same ratio.
Right? That's just basic math. Every time something loses, that means something else wins. But, interestingly enough...
Oh my god, somebody made a fucking chart? So if you look at the time...
This is why the internet is so cool. Because the internet doesn't take this lying down, okay? There is gonna be that one nerd that has way too much time on their hands that is not like me touching grass every day, okay? And they are actually going to crack this stuff. Actual legends.
51,000 votes happened within this time period for Black Myth Wukong. And now if you look at Final Fantasy Rebirth, you look at 242 to 245. This is within the same window, but instead of changing by 51,000, it changed by 3,000. And then Helldivers 2, 240 all the way up to 243. So if anything, Black Myth Wukong got negatively botted. And
Interesting. How did that happen?
basically every single one of those votes would have been a negative. This means that out of the 51,000 additional duels, the win rate of those additional duels was only 9%, which brought the win rate down from 90% to 72%. And then the thing is, they tweet out, what's your game of the year? And Black Myth Wukong isn't even on the list.
Interesting. I don't know. I'm still thinking that maybe there's no agenda here, and maybe that it's possible the gaming journalist just maybe made an oversight. Maybe it was a mistake, guys. Maybe it was an error. What do you think of that theory?
It's at 70.7. Now it went back up to 70.9. It just got 5,000 votes and went up by 0.2%. Wait a second. It's possible for it to go down 20%. Dude, this is a degree of shamelessness that I've never seen. I'm almost...
It's true. It's borderline... I don't even want to say impressive. I hope he doesn't say impressive.
I was not even mad at IGN because of how flagrantly ridiculous this is. We just changed all the votes.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I think you're going down the wrong path, okay? It's not just like it's an impressive, flagrant shamelessness, which it is. He's completely correct on that. But it's so much more than that. It's so much more. It's really funny. It's really funny that IGN thinks this matters. It's really funny that these gaming journalists and all these people that are coming together to form these groups where they agree to suck different areas of different video game industry while spitting on the others. It's really funny that they think they have some sort of actual power. They don't. They have no power. They have nothing. They tried their absolute best to make Black Myth Wukong fail, and they failed so miserably and utterly. It was the most played game of the year, and one of the most played games of all time. It beat Elden Ring on the player counts. They have so little power, it's hilarious and infuriating, and they are trying their best to use this tiny ounce of power that they have to make their own polls, you know, at least look like and face and shape up to the way they want them to look. And they can't even do that right without becoming an absolute clown show for the internet to laugh at. Some people are impressed by the shamelessness. Some people are mad at the shamelessness. I think this is the funniest thing that could have possibly come out of modern gaming. These guys are a house of cards, one blow away from falling all over the place and making a complete mess as their corpses splatter against the pavement. I've had articles written about me in the most unrealistic reference to how the situations have actually panned out that they've written about me. I know firsthand how powerless they are, because despite the fact that the article that they wrote about me was negative, the public perception of what was going on was positive. I know firsthand how powerless they are. And the more and more they flagrantly and blatantly paint clown makeup on their faces, the more society will begin to recognize that as well. I don't have a television, okay? I don't do cable TV. That stuff is garbage. It's garbage. But on vacation, going from hotel to hotel, going across the United States on my quest to expose Mr. Beast, it's been fun to turn the television on every once in a while and see how you have on one channel you have Fox News, and then the other channel you have CNN, and you have both of them talking about the same story but spinning them to be completely separate entities. It's like if you would watch one of them and not the other, you would have a completely different perspective on the exact same thing that happened because of how the story is told. Journalists are not here to actually spread the truth, okay? They are storytellers, swindlers, and liars. They are not just a clown. They are the entire circus, and it is my greatest pleasure to laugh at the chaos that is them collapsing, because in an age where everyone has a phone and everyone can actually have their own 2 cents on what's going on and not purely be brainwashed by some massive corporation that's just shilling out information and can actually get information from various sources, it's really nice to see this juggernaut of the industry, this monopoly, just completely crumble. So anyway, subscribe if you like chaos. Touching grass has been good for me. I think it's, instead of what I thought it would do, take the edge off and make me more peaceful and kind and want to frolic in more meadows and stuff, it has definitely done that, and I do want to make a lot of positive content as well. I'm also, I think, more based and care less. It's so fun to go outside into the world and recognize the fact that all these people that you think are powerful, the hate mobs on Twitter, the freaking journalists writing articles about you and against you and slandering you and all that, like, these people have no power. They're not real. But because people think they have power, that is the amount of power that they have. So let's shatter that narrative and remember to stay weird, fam.